right. Hello, everyone. Our producers have just informed us that it is time to go. We have a lot of people on the webinar already. Thanks very much for joining. So we are here to talk about some stuff and show some stuff. So let's get into it. Yes. So I am Martin, and I have with me Kestutis, our Chief Product Officer, and yeah, we're here to talk about how to build insurance products on a low-code IT platform. Let's go over the plan so far. So obviously, launching insurance products is quite a big topic. So today, what we're trying to accomplish is we're trying to kind of give you the bird's eye overview of what are the main elements you need to build an insurance product using a low-code insurance platform. And since Kestutis and I were both from Inslee, we'll be using the Inslee platform as an example. Time-wise, we've divided it into three main blocks. So we're going to be talking about creating a product form for data capture. We're going to look at how to implement rating for the product. We will also be looking at document templates. So since we just have the hour, obviously we can't cover all the aspects of an insurance product launch today, but think of it more as an introduction. So today we will try to give you this high-level overview, and we would like to expand on this in further webinars where we can look at certain topics in detail. And you are all welcome to send your suggestions and questions through the chat as we go along. We'll try to address those questions as we go. There's also time for a Q&A at the end, so anything that we don't cover until that point, we can cover during the Q&A. And also, if you have an idea for a future webinar topic, then drop it in the chat, and we'll be happy to give it a look. So I think with the agenda established, let's crack on. So we're going to switch now from this slideshow to the actual system itself. Now, as said, we're from Inslee, so obviously we're going to be showing our low-code product, but we do think that there will be something universal in here because most probably the main components to build an insurance product will be the same. Now, what we're looking at currently, what Kestutis is showing, this is the underwriter dashboard. So we have client views there, we have quote and policy views. So you kind of have the underwriter dashboard and the product builder in the same place. So provided you have the user permissions to access that product builder, you will be able to create the insurance products and make changes to them from the same like underwriter dashboard. Yeah, and that's where we'll be spending most of the time. So I think, Kestutis, you can go ahead and jump into the product builder.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Martin. And today I will show and demonstrate a little bit how we build insurance product in our platform. Okay, so as a first element, there is a schemas. Schemas in our platform is understood as a configuration of the product. It contains a lot of product-related information. The schema itself is used to design the product form, and so on. Now I will jump into the one. I will just created a new schema, and we'll jump into that schemas and product configuration. So let's assume I have just a new schema created, which basically defines the product, different parameters. But the most interesting part is how the form is built itself. Okay, so I'm just jumping to the schema designer, and I can start with a simple section. Let's say this is a general section. Let's name it like a policy information. And just to say that today we will be building a simple kind of motor single product for the single vehicle insurance. And yes, so we have the section created, and let me drop kind of additional fields for the client, which is basically related to our client's registry, and can pull the clients. Okay, let me drop some additional fields like kind of policy inception date. As you can see, on the right we have different elements like date, radius, client buttons, different selects, and so on. Once we have a field dropped here, we can make a copy of the existing field. We can change the title. We can set, for example, this field to be required. We can set some fields to be read-only, and so on and so on. So this is in a way how easy it is to configure and set up the insurance product. But for today's demo, probably I would use already existing and pre-created product just to save like a little bit on time. Idea was just to show how we do, but basically once the product itself is done, so we have it ready, and then today we can demonstrate how that works in action.
Sounds good. I will just add to those watching that schema is kind of like maybe internal INSLI term. So we use it to designate like the product form, but it's actually like we call it like a collection of rules that makes up the insurance product. So it's the form, it's certain workflow related things that define how you go through the quote and bind process. It can be integration points. And like all those rules together, we call that as a schema. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's
yeah. So just as I mentioned, just to save a little bit like on time, so I have like kind of fully prepared insurance product. I will just jump into that, just to demonstrate how that would look in action. And then once I click on the preview, you can see there's like kind of different sections, different fields, data fields, drop-down fields, all the selection, and then specific fields and so on. So that's already pre-created product, and we can actually now demonstrate how that product works in action. So let's go to the quotes list, and then let's create a new quote. So when I'm starting creating a new quote under that product, I already see the form. I can choose either existing customer, or basically create a new customer that just picks up all the different information about the address, fills in automatically. You can see here there is like not only the static fields, but some certain dynamics. So basically if I change the policy plan start date or inception date, it just automatically shifts the end date, automatically calculates the cover duration, and so on. So as I mentioned, so we have the different fields, in order to accommodate all the different needs from the different customers, and yeah, basically let me kind of fully register one case. Now I have selected the client. Now let's enter the insured item, or let's say vehicle. Let's put any dummy plate number, VIN registration number. Let's choose the category. Let's say M1. Then the make let be Honda. Let's put some fictional value of the car, and then let's put the year 2020 and let's say 5-passenger car. In addition to that static and the basic information, we can add a different clauses and endorsements and subjectivities just by selecting from the endorsement library. So if I click on the link endorsement, I have already pre-created library with the different clauses, so I can choose one or two, and then they automatically link to the quote. So basically when I'm happy with all the product filling here, so I'll just click on save. Okay, so I need, of course, the system, and then the form is smart, it controls the required fields, so I need to choose the required brokerage and save it. So once I click on the save,
I think we have a very good related question from the audience. So Antonio is asking, since you're at the field level, how do you add validations per field? So I think we just saw one validation in action. You were trying to save the quote and actually proceed with it, and then you got an error. So do you have a quick answer for this one?
Yes, so basically when we create our schema and the form, so we are not just putting only the static fields, but we have a bunch of the dynamic rules, which basically controls and validates the fields. And this validation could be based on some certain data format that you need the numbers, or basically it could be validation could be related to the other fields values and so on. So it's we have behind the scenes, we have like very powerful dynamic rules engine to validate these things. All right. So let's move on. So now I just click on save. The quote or basically submission is already saved. We received the number as well as is configured in the schema. So basically each product can have a different numbering logic. And basically once we save it, on the right side we have the index of the different sections, so we can easily jump to the product different sections. And after the saving, we have like general pages, additional pages for the quote form, as like additional insured objects, documents, financial transactions, activities of the tasks, API logs, and all the change logs that we are doing to the quote, right? So that's basically in a nutshell how the product configuration setup and then filling the quote works. So now we are switching to another part of the product building, which is rating engine. So for the rating, we have created a separate microservice, which is kind of independent from the main platform. That gives us a possibility to use that rating engine in a different scenarios, in a different sales channels. For example, doing quotation from our platform, or doing quotation from your public website, and so on. So the rating engine as such has like 4 key elements. So the first one is the parameters. So here we can create and we can have the parameters which are used to calculate the rates. On the same way, these parameters can be returned back. The second part is the data tables. So basically it's a rating tables where we define the rates based on the different criteria, like for example in the motor business it's a by make and model and so on. The third part is decline, refer, or other notification rules, which probably sometimes need to be triggered during the calculation process, and then we will see how they work in a minute. And the last fourth, the core, like so-called backbone of the calculation, is the calculation steps. So these are just basically Excel style formulas where we just pick some values from the lookup tables, do the mathematical calculation or any other like operations in order to calculate different parameters, different values of the rating.
So basically, what you're trying to say is that if you can build like a rater for an insurance product in Excel, it's very similar process here.
Exactly. So it's pretty much the formulas and the formatting is like similar to the Excel. So the ones who are good in Excel, they can easily use our rating engine. Okay. In addition to those basic elements, our rating engine comes with a supporting element. So the first one is the version history. So we can track the history of all the calculation versions, and they are like basically importable and exportable. So basically, for the convenience, I can just export it to the Excel. I take the file and the kind of Excel configuration, and all the parameters, all the rules, all the logic is here in Excel. I can just make the changes and import that Excel again as a new version. And this is another way, or basically alternative way to make updates.
Sorry, Kestis, can you just show the Excel again, but just a little bit bigger? I think it might have been difficult to spot some things.
Correct, you're right. So yeah, basically, so these are These are basically all the parameters that are registered on the rating engine, the same rules that we have, the same basically calculation steps. So if it's easy, you can just add additional calculation steps directly in Excel and then upload that back to our rating engine. All right.
So let's say for argument's sake that I have like a list of trades and I have a bunch of rates based on that list. So if I wanted to add like another trade to be calculated, I just add it in the Excel, or do I need to make some changes to the product form as well?
You just add it to Excel, and then basically it depends, what's your calculation flow, So basically, if you have sufficient parameters in your existing product form to calculate the rate, so that probably no changes are needed, on the product form. Just basically, kind of extend your calculation logic with that, and that's basically it, right?
Yeah, and you have that version history there as well. Like, is it possible that that you will have a rate change coming up in certain period, like 14th of February next month, you need to be using a new rate? Is it possible to like somehow schedule that in so that
Yes.
you can kind of know business will go on until that date, but from that date, the new rates will start to be used?
Yes, thank you for the question. Very good question. So solution probably would be like a little bit different, So here, as the policy inception date can come as a parameter, and sometimes you control not by the actual date, the rates, but by the inception date. So inception date we take as a parameter, and then basically trigger some kind of like additional calculation based on the date, if it's earlier. If it's before the January 1st, then we do one calculation. If it's after January 1st, we use a different lookup or different formula for the calculation.
Okay.
Okay, just to finish with our rating engine. So beside the versions, we have the test sets. So that's again a very powerful tool. Basically you define the test sets, kind of parameters that you use for the testing, and then you just set the expected result. So that's these test sets would help you to validate your rating engine logic. And of course, the last thing, but one of the most important things is all the calculation logs and all the details. And you see that we did some tests for the calculation, and this is like 0.053 milliseconds. So basically, it's just literally milliseconds to calculate one case. All right. So now, as we previewed the rating engine, let's check, how that works in a real case, in a real action. So we are coming back to our product form, which is like already connected to our rating engine, and then basically we just click calculate the quote. Okay. So we see that.
I think you may have missed the key part there, Kestutis. You didn't mention how we access the rating using Inslee. So you showed the Excel and all, but like how third parties might be able to access
you're right.
that as well, and
so
how we
a
are
bit like mentioned here, but
demo.
Basically this is like a simple link, this API endpoint, which could be used, to access our rating engine, and yeah, basically, you just do API server to server connection in order to get the prices. So as I said, like the reason for separating our rating engine into separate moduli is that it could be reusable by the different sales channels. So one is like, assuming you're creating quotes through our platform, another sales channel, you have your own website where you're doing online sales of the insurance. So you can easily hook, your website to that rating engine, and you could use like one single source of truth for your price calculation.
So to put it into like understandable terms for like a non-technical guy like myself, then you can take a Excel-based rater and then make it kind of digital, so you can share it with your partners who have their own IT system and they want to kind of get your access to your rates.
Exactly. So that's one of the solutions. If you have the different partners, you can just give an access and they could use your rating logic. All right. So, yes, so we are back to our product form. We just click on the calculate, and as you see, we received the premium, which has been calculated. There is like an agent commission has been calculated. There has been 12% IPT rate that has been calculated as well. And it applies like additional policy fee, and everything sums up nicely to whatever 68.37 total amount, which is payable by the insurer. Just to show like a little bit more on the rating logic and specifically rating rules. For this demo, I have preset some rating rules. So the first one is triggered if the car is like quite old, so retro car, let's say 190/70, and also we trigger the rule if that's not a Honda, but let's say if it's a Audi A4. Okay. So let's change some parameters and let's do the recalculation again. So I just did the recalculation and I can see, some fields have been like highlighted. And also there in my rating rules list, I got some rating rules. So the first one is like a decline because we are not insuring the vehicles older than 1980. And the second one is like it's a special clause. Let's say it's based on some certain make, like Audi, and sometimes it needs the underwriting approval. Yes, and in addition to those rules, these like these fields which are affecting the rules. So they are triggered, they are highlighted in a different color. The rule itself is highlighted, and so on. So that's how you can define your not only the straightforward calculation, but some certain like logical referral underwriting flow for your products.
And what kind of rules do you have available at the moment?
In general, the rules are which are like defined, but if we look by the type, so basically we have 3 types of the rules. So the first is just a notification. So basically just the informational type of rule. Second one is refer. So that basically that needs, in case of the classical MGA business, so that needs the underwriter interference, and then basically review and then either accept or decline. And then there is like so-called hard decline, in case of this is like completely outside of the typical appetite, so then basically you just decline that case, and proceeding with the policy. All right, so then so right now we have covered the product configuration, we have covered the rating logic, now we are jumping to the last biggest part is about the documents. Okay, every product is not only about like filling the form, but as well, and the calculation, but as well about the generating documents.
Yep, before you dive into that, I'll just remind everyone watching that if you have any questions, just feel free to drop them in the chat, and happy to have a look and try to answer them on the spot. So we went through the form and calculation. Obviously, there's more to it. So if you have any questions, we probably have the time to come back to it later. But yeah, for now, let's move on to the documents, see what we have there.
Thank you, Martin. All right, so now we have created the product, still in progress, and normally next step, we have filled it, we got the prices, some certain conditions triggered, but as a next step, we need to generate the document. So again, the part of the product configuration is the wiring the form itself with the document templates and being able to produce the final documents. Okay. So here in this demo case, I have like quote summary prepared. So basically, once I click on that button, the document has been created, added, generated, and I see the document has been stored in the document section. So basically, I can open, I can preview it. Here is the document. Of course, we just prepared like a dummy case scenario, but basically it pulls all the basic information that is needed for the quotation summary. So that's the policyholder, address, country, period, all this information about the vehicle and the premium details, admin fee, IPT, premium, and the payables.
Could you again make it bigger, please, like full screen? Gonna have to kneel in, adjust my glasses a bit. Yep.
Yeah, sorry about that. So yes, you see the motor quote summary and the information came dynamic. Now probably you have a question how that information is coming to the document. So the answer is very simple. So we have the Word template, which is basically looks exactly the same as you just seen the generated one. And basically that Word document you can change by yourself. And this document template is stored and it's basically uploaded to our platform, and it's used to generate the document. So you see that most of the information is static, but some parts are dynamic, as we call the dynamic placeholders. And into these placeholders, on the moment when we generate document, we just inject or basically insert a real data from the quote form. And this is how it works. Okay. You probably will be wondering, how you could know these things, but basically for that we have a tools, to show you exactly, what are the fields and where are they, in order to extend the document template itself. Okay, so probably let me do one more trick here, and to show how these things works in action, basically updating of the document templates, how they work in action. Okay. So before we go down, so we see kind of what we are missing, like real case scenario. We have the quotation, we have all the premiums here, but also we have the broker commission. In some cases, or basically due to some legislation, so sometimes we need to show the broker actual commission and the broker amount. So now what we are going to do, we just put this broker or basically agent commission rate and the commission amount on the document. All right. So as you see, it does not exist. It has just admin fee, IPT, and premium, and no commission. Okay. So let me go now to the document templates. Let's say I have the quote summary. Let me download the latest version. All right. So the latest version. Just put enable everything. Oops, sorry. Just I have the latest version here. And basically let me add one additional line for this, like agent commission. And I will put it here. I will put it here, the agent commission part. Just we'll put 3 elements. One is the agent commission, second one is the currency, and the third one is agent commission rate. Okay, so let me save the document. Let me save the document as version 2 here, and now I'm going back to the template configuration. Say that I need to upgrade the new version of the document template, browse it from my downloads, and upload the file. That's it. I have uploaded a new document template. And if I go back to my quote, which we have been using for this demo case, and now regenerate the quote summary, and click on download, I should be able to see agent commission. You see, agent commission, €8, 20%. That's basically matches.
Can you please zoom in a little bit again? It's
You're right.
At least if you have a smaller screen, it's a little bit tricky to. I believe you did it, but
True. All right, so yeah, probably now you can see it better.
Yep. Now I have it.
So we added additional line agent commission, which goes like 8%, €8, 20%. That exactly from as it's shown here. it yours 20%, and that's basically how we make changes to the document templates.
All right. All right. Since it seems we are quite ahead of schedule, we will have plenty of time to go through questions. So if you want to pick Kestutis' brain and make him build something on the spot, then now is the perfect time.
So do we have any questions, Martin?
Well, we can start with a quick recap of what we went over today. So I think, like we obviously we didn't cover all the product builder tools, but we focused on kind of the big three. So we focused on the form builder. So we put together a form for data capture. We set up rates for that product, linked it to the form, and then we also set up a simple document template for the same product.
And maybe one more thing to add in here is that we have like kind of possibility to have the full control of the sales flow or sales process. Okay, now as you see, our quote is in progress, but basically we control the statuses through the workflow, which could be defined, per any product or in general in the system. And these are like kind of the buttons to trigger different, or to basically to transition the quote form to the different statuses. So the first one, let's say, is accept. So the quote got status accepted, and then basically, let's say, mark as issued. So once I click as an issued, so probably it's hard to see for you, but all the fields are like kind of locked, because now we went to the policy status. Basically, it's already bound, and you cannot make changes easily, to the quote form because it has been set as issued.
Right, but obviously for like more complex and maybe like more underwriter-driven products, you can have like all kinds of statuses there. But, all the steps to make a quote and all the steps to make a policy, you can set these up like per product,
exactly.
I guess.
And you can have different workflows, and then just probably to add more is that some certain fields or basically buttons or basically any visual elements could be shown or hidden depending on the status. So it's if you're in let's say so-called quick quote mode, you probably need only like limited amount of the fields, and when you're proceeding with a full quote, you need to kind of unlock or open the different sections for entering additional data and so on and so on. So again, the possibilities are like kind of unlimited. Just sometimes we are limited only by our imagination and what we can do.
All right, nice. We have an additional question from the audience. Is there a limit to the amount of rules you can add to the rating engine?
No, there is no limit here. So if to look at the rules, so I can create any additional rules, and as much as I have, we see if you can see it here, we even have a paging, if you have hundreds of rules, it's just a list, of rules that these are limited.
Thanks for that one. And we have a couple more. So a really good one. Can you retrieve other fields derived from one? For example, entering vehicle registration number and then make, model, and so on is populated from API to a vehicle registration agency.
Yes, this is a good one. So we do a lot of integrations. We do integrations to the third parties, and we can set up, kind of one. For example, a good example we did recently for the Canadian aircraft insurance MGA, and you just enter the aircraft registration number, and it pulls like I don't know 50 or 60 different fields about the aircraft configuration from the Canadian aircraft database. So that's possible, and that we can set up for you. But if this is like kind of typical integration, like the address lookup or basically Google lookup, so that could be organized very easily, But if you need any additional integration to some specific data sources, so that's probably a topic to our professional services team, and that might need some certain custom development to implement that connector to the different sources.
Yep. But I would say that in general, we encourage these kinds of requests because by tapping into other data sources that are out there, you do have opportunities to make your underwriter's life a lot easier because you can get rid of a lot of the keying in that you might normally have. So if there's an opportunity, then we are always happy to look into that. But we've got some more questions. One quite challenging, maybe quite simple. What is the most complex product you have built? Can you bring some examples?
I think the same probably I would refer to the same like aviation insurance, because probably everyone knows that aviation is one of the most complex insurances, and the reason of that is that you have a different you have the fleets of aircraft. For each aircraft, you probably need to capture different risks, like kind of liability, hull risks, any other like spare parts damages, and each aircraft has multiple fields, multiple risks. You need to calculate, to aggregate that on the policy level. And in addition to that, aircraft is the insurance product which is a multi-currency, because and this is very common. Aircrafts can very easily and quickly leave your kind of country and your space, and that you can buy the aircrafts in a different country. So basically, you would like to make insurance on that specific currency. So yes, aircraft insurance forms has like 100 of fields and very complex ones.
Not just the fields, I presume, like the kind of the underwriting rules that go with it is what makes it complex, not just the number.
Not only the fields, but some logic and the rating logic, and also we kind of we have the complexity in all three elements, as we showed today in our demo. So the first element was the product, second was like the underwriting rules and the calculation, and the third element documents. Okay, documents as well, it's like kind of very complex ones, because you have like different conditions, different clauses, which needs to be shown based on the risk selected, on the aircraft types, on aircraft sizes, and the whole like kind of insured, or basically the party which is covered, needs to be very well informed about the risks, what the risks are covered. So that's the reason why these documents are very complex ones. So basically, it goes through the whole like kind of parts of the product. You're right.
We had another question regarding integrations. The question is, what integrations are currently available? So there's a lot of different cases we have overall, but maybe you can bring out just like the main ones that we usually always have in place, which are more or less like out of the box.
Yes, I can name a couple of them. So probably we can fill into some certain like kind of groups. Okay, so I would just identify probably 3 groups of integration. So the first one is integrating with your like an accounting or bookkeeping software, like for example Xero, QuickBooks, and so on. So basically, once the policy is made, invoice issued, you need to register those receivables and payments into your accounting software. That's one group of integration. So we implemented integrations, as I mentioned, with the QuickBooks and Xero. The second group of integration is the ones which we do basically to enrich the data, as it has been mentioned a couple of minutes ago. Basically, based on the plate number, registration number, we're just getting additional data, or basically based on the, let's say in UK we have a service based on the postcode, we do the lookup of address, and then we just fetch all the information. And third group is like how to say, like it's more like a risk information, or basically preventing or basically extending the information about insurance objects. So that as an example could be like a sanction search. Almost every second our customers using the sanction search, basically to validate does the insurance has applied any sanctions. Another example from that group would be like a landmark service, where you just can get by the property registration number, you can get some certain like risk coefficients and so on. Yeah, so integrations, all in all, integrations set up and configured very, very easily, from the schema itself. You just need to set up that, and you can use it.
All right. Yeah, I mean, in terms of integrations, we can definitely we have a lot of like different case-by-case examples. So yeah, always happy to have a chat and kind of talk in the context of your business. But we have a great question actually from the audience still. Can you show us how the definition of a report or the generation of a report works? That's a great question, but I think we're going to need a bigger boat for that one, because we actually plan to have like a separate webinar on that topic alone. So today, like the elements that we covered were more to set up like the quote and bind, but we definitely want to have like follow-on sessions introducing maybe also other members of the Insily team, where we talk on topics like MGA accounting, reporting to the carriers, claims in the very near future. So in that sense, we are planning to make this into a series. And if you have any suggestions or like any topics that you would be interested to see, then please let us know either today through the chat, or just send us an email to the invite that you had. So we're happy to take your ideas and actually prioritize what we think is nice to talk about based on what you guys think.
Correct, Martin.
So yeah, please keep those ideas coming.
Maybe here I'll just add one more teaser, for the next upcoming reports webinar, is that we just finished like our product integration with kind of the market leaders of the business intelligence, like a Power BI, Tableau. Even you can pull out the data directly into the Excel using our like this live data connection, and basically it's not a one-time export of the data, it's just basically a live connection. So basically you have it, you have your Excel linked with our data, and once the new quotes has been created, issued, just with a one button click you can refresh your data source and get latest information. Yeah. So would be happy to share and show that in the next webinars in the future.
Yep, hopefully that gives a short answer to the question. Maybe just to explain the principle of how our reporting works is basically we have no out-of-the-box reports, but instead of that, we have the capability to build whatever kind of reports you need, and we do that actually in combination with third-party business intelligence tools. So yeah, that's definitely a topic we can explore in the next webinar.
Correct.
Yeah. So today we went through the big three tools, kind of the big three of product builders, of product building in the software, and to us that's form, rating, and documents. These are the main items for us. Probably other local platforms have similar components. Maybe what we can do as a teaser is just give you an overview of some of the supporting tools that kind of make some of the other things happen. Like there's things related to reporting to capacity. There's things related to like endorsements, like you mentioned, Kęstutis. So maybe just give us a really short overview of what else.
Yeah, so already like a little bit briefed and mentioned about the endorsements in the quote that we could use in the quote form, but this is like as a separate, there is like endorsement libraries and endorsement register that you could just create the different endorsements, conditions, subjectivities. For example, for that one motor endorsement library, I created two. So one is like an extra territory coverage, and then the English driver clause. But I can create endorsements. So sometimes endorsement goes not only as it's basically only condition, but it carries the limits, deductibles, and extra premiums, which can be added to the total quote premium. And that's a way how you just register the endorsement. Another wide area is binders, and binders is a contract between MGA and the carrier capacity provider. So we can register a binder, and it's kind of like a master binder, and then beside the master we can create those like an annual binders where we start and end. And basically also in the child binder, or basically this period, the year binder, we can add all these like kind of sections and all the different product, like property, let's say motor. The first section which shows which carrier is covering, what's the product, what's the share, and so on. We can have the different sections here. So this is a way how we can address the split of the risks per binder, and then have a different sections, different risks. Even the multi-insurance possibilities are here, that you can cover one risk with multiple insurance where they share, let's say 50-50 or different proportions. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great example of something that already relates to the reporting and kind of finance piece. So yeah, thanks for the teaser, Kestutis.
All right. Also, probably happy to explore, like in the future, the functionalities of all our financial model, where we go down to the invoices which are issued after the policy itself is issued, the payments matching, the out-of-the-box producing of the broker statements and insurer bordereaux, different payment accounts, currencies, and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. But I think from our side, it seems that we somehow managed to wrap up this overview in under the hour. So to anyone still watching, thanks very much for tuning in. Please let us know what you thought about this webinar. If you have any questions, please send them across to us. You should have an access to a meeting scheduler with access to myself and Kestutis. So if you'd like to have a chat with us, know more about Dinsley, kind of speak in the context of your business, we're always happy to have a chat and yeah, get to know you and see if there's something we can help with.
Yeah, and just to end, we had like kind of very good comment, or basically from our audience, that they were asking, are you doing in the same way quick, all your project implementations as you do the seminar? So that's probably kind of like a good point, So I think that sometimes it's better to have the kind of concentrated, and then straight to the point, and like a little bit shorter, than to talk like multiple times about the same things, but just straight to the focus. So that principle we try to apply, when we are onboarding our clients and finishing our projects. So the whole concept was like, and of the no code was that we could be able to deliver changes in a very quick way. So basically the insurance market, as every market, is like changing very rapidly, and then MGAs tries to adjust, to their market, make the changes of the products. So you should be able as well, to accommodate those changes, to make the changes quicker and easier, on the code form. And on the document templates, on the rating engine, on all the aspects and all the elements of the product definition.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it seems like we are drawing to a natural conclusion. So thanks once again for everyone for joining. We will be letting you know about the next webinar topic and date quite soon. We still look forward to your suggestions and happy to prioritize. So thanks very much for joining. If you couldn't tell by the the kind of the flow of things, then this was our very first one. So yeah, it's been great. Hope it was useful, and see you all next time.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, Kestas. See you.